Oh boy, Brendan, was that an exciting showdown yesterday, or what?
It certainly was. I'm biting my nails to find out what happened.
Well, you're gonna have to wait, because Eleanor won't come in till the end to tell us whose hopes were dashed and who lives to fight another day.
Oh, I can't wait to find out. Why did we structure it with the results at the end of the episode? What were we thinking?
We were thinking that we like cliffhangers.
That's a good point.
Today, we're starting out with a big match. We've got Star Wars Rebellion
versus Mage Knight.
What? Star Wars Rebellion, brought to you by Corey Konetska. He spent some time in space when he took us through the gut-wrenching game that is Battlestar Galactica, and they came back in 2016 with Star Wars Rebellion.
It's an impressive piece of game design, Rob. Rebellion takes up your whole table and takes up all of your Star Wars fandom. It lets you put Princess Leia in Carbonite.
And if you're Brendan, it lets you put your Rebel base right next to your opponent's starting position and lose quickly.
We're never going to speak of that again.
The truth must come out here on the Game Fight Podcast.
Fair enough. And you know, with those 47 credited artists, Star Wars Rebellion is bursting with flavor. Like all of the different ways you could illustrate my poor planning for Rebel-based design.
Did you say the word design?
I did.
You did? Because look whose head popped up when you said that. It's Vlada Chavato.
Oh, the many-headed design master of Board Game Geek fame.
Oh, wait. He's the guy who made that popular party game that you can teach in 2 minutes to your mom, your nephew, or a gamer.
That's a question?
It's Codenames.
Oh, the guy who made Codenames, how does he make a game that goes up against Star Wars Rebellion?
Well, because he made, in 2011, Mage Knight.
Mage Knight. From WizKids Games, this incredible piece of game design involves being a magical warrior, wandering around, causing all kinds of mayhem.
Hoping that you can walk.
Oh, I'm talking about Star Wars again.
Collecting crystals. It has everything you could possibly want.
A lot of people think Vlada Chvato's a one-trick pony, but those people obviously have not paid attention to his design pedigree. If you've played Mage Knight, you're really sitting in design heaven. This is quite a game.
No question. I have played both of these games and love them. Let me tell you, Mage Knight is a game that takes a certain amount of learning. But once you're in there, you are loving it. It gives you a role-playing experience. It gives you a dungeon crawl feel. It gives you bleeding tokens. Everything you could ever want in a game.
You know what Star Wars Rebellion doesn't have? Bleeding tokens. I think, this is probably
I don't know what
already.
Corey was doing when he did that. Come on, right. Corey.
Get
tokens!
We need some bleeding tokens over there.
Now let me ask you a question. When we are resolving these showdowns here in the March Mayhem bracket, are they decided by votes by our good listeners, or are they decided by how many artists worked on the game?
Well, originally when we were planning the show, I was arguing for number of artists, but you said that wouldn't provide much audience interaction, and I think in the long run, like the blood tokens, you're right.
Well, it turns out if we were going by artists, Star Wars Rebellion would handily win with more than 47 credited artists.
I like that we put credited in the notes as though there's a couple artists who didn't get any credit.
I think you know who we're talking about. Len McCluskey.
That's right. Eat it, McCluskey.
As opposed to Mage Knight with a paltry 3 artists.
How can you even make a game with only 3 artists? That's just appalling.
You know what I can tell you? These games are both excellent. These games both have people who love them. And these games are going head to head, fighting for survival here in the bracket. And I'm going to tell you, it's another one where I'm glad I don't have to decide. But I look forward to seeing how it is decided. And it won't be unless you go to Twitter, find @GameFightShow, and vote for your favorite. I'm not going to call this one. If you gave me $100 to call that fight, I just wouldn't do it.
You just keep my $100? I don't like this deal.
Ha ha! I have your $100.
I've lost $100.
You know who's made more than $100?
No, you
Stefan Feld.
Stefan Feld.
Stefan
that
Feld.
Maniac of Euro design. I love him.
He has something against your brain. He's trying to set it on fire. with Castles of Burgundy. This is one of his earlier games, 2011.
It's a great design.
Ugh, no question.
You know, there are fewer games that burn my brain more. Trying to decide which of those tiny little hexes of buildings to take and where to put it on my board full of tiny little hexes. Furious when I needed a 6 and all I get are 3s. Man, you know, this is one of those games that just every time you come to it, it feels a little bit different. It rewards extended study and deep play.
Well, I mean, that's going to be true for every Stefan Feld game that you play. If you keep coming back, it'll keep giving more.
That's right. And with the fancy new version that Castles of Burgundy got, they just released the updated art and the snazzy new boards. I could imagine that this one is rising in the minds of the fans out there.
Well, you have to appreciate an outfit that's willing to put some work in. They aren't resting on their laurels here. They dusted off the game. They spruced it up and they put it back out on the field. And, you were talking in our first showdown about how Gloomhaven and Kingdom Death Monster both scratch the same itch. Mm-hmm. Well, let me tell you, Castles of Burgundy is up against Concordia.
Oh, man, Concordia.
It's a different game. Don't get me wrong. But if you like Castles of Burgundy, I'm going to put up on your recommendations. You might also like Concordia.
Hey, Concordia's got this. I love the hand management, right? You have this hand of cards. You're deciding how to use them. And each time you use it, it's a relatively simple thing. Like Castles of Burgundy, you're going to use one of your dice, do one thing with it. In Concordia, it's even simpler. You use a card, you do a thing. But then as you're going along, you buy more cards. Do you buy them for the actions or do you buy them for the scoring? Because the cards also shape your scoring. You're moving these little pieces around. You're trading in the Mediterranean, a classic Eurogame theme. There's not much to dislike about Concordia.
Yes, I'm going to tell you that Max Gertz did a great job. He did a really Gert job on that.
Verdi-gurdy.
Maximum Gert from Matt Gertz.
You know, I think the only thing going against it, Castles of Burgundy has this snazzy new cover with this really tight looking design that fits the modern aesthetic of 2020 rather than the sort of more classic Euro designs. Concordia still has that old box cover with that creepy lady on the front. It's just, I think the new design maybe gives Castles of Burgundy a little bit of an edge.
You know what? I don't think you're wrong. I think Concordia is fighting with one hand tied behind their back. It's a little unfair. We know we shouldn't judge a game by its cover in this, but Castles of Burgundy, having that beautiful new look, it doesn't just represent a visual statement. It represents a statement of faith, a statement of work, a statement of belief in the Castles of Burgundy. That being said, I'm not telling you that Concordia is or should be held out of contention. And the only way we'll find out which one of those games, and in fact which one of any of the showdowns here in the March Mayhem bracket is going to be resolved, is if you, the good gamer, go to @GameFightShow.
@GameFightShow.
On Twitter and vote.
I got to put in one last comment. You're talking about support and the evidence of support that's made by the new design of Castles of Burgundy. Reminds me, Concordia has gotten consistent expansions support, including the recent Concordia Venus expansion, which dramatically adds to the gameplay. So as our audience is trying to decide which of these games is going to win, and they're thinking about, are we talking about Concordia 2013 or are we talking about the entire Concordia verse? That's a tough one to decide.
That brings us right back to the finals of the last tournament, where Netrunner, perhaps surprisingly, ran away with it all. When you're talking about Netrunner,
not surprising.
Are you? We have Brendan, a dyed-in-the-wool Netrunner aficionado,
biased judge right here.
When you're talking about Netrunner, are you talking about one box of the base set, or are you talking about that Netrunner verse?
Well, it's a good thing that we don't have to decide that this time around, because Netrunner, unfortunately, has fallen so far out of favor, it did not make the bracket this time.
Oh, that's what happens when you kill a living card game. All right. Well, Mayhem fans, that gong means that it's time for us to turn over to Eleanor with the results from yesterday's showdowns. Ooh, I didn't see that coming.
What a surprise!
Thank you, Eleanor, and thank you, listeners, and we'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget, vote at GameFight Show on Twitter.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.